Let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. How you living, buddy?
I'm good, dude. Good. Happy to be here with you, as always. Couldn't be happier about that. Sun's out. It turned into a very nice day. So
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. Here we are on a Tuesday. We got the Hoff coming up. That's exciting.
We got the Hoff. We got Zastudil coming up. We got a lot to look forward to here on a Tuesday. Yeah, we're still peak. Like, I know that it's going to start raining at some point.
It's as if.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's as if they just knew.
Come on.
They said, we're going to give you guys a little bit of a respite.
Oh, no.
Last I looked, it was still
on.
95% Thursday.
Come on. Are we serious? Is that what we're walking into here? Oh,
yeah,
my
but the
gosh.
rest of the weekend's all right. It's just Thursday. We got to build an arc.
49 Thursday.
Yeah.
What's Friday?
Not
96% chance of rain and a high of 49. 52, 84% chance
84,
of rain.
yeah.
You're going to be underwater, yeah.
It's a washout.
Your weekend, 52 and 50 with not much
I have an answer
chance.
for that. It's called a golf simulator and alcohol.
You're not wrong, Gibby.
I think you got to
You're
try
darn
to
right
get
I'm
out.
not.
I think you got to try to get out there into the November. I think, Sunday's the 2nd. 50 degrees, 52-ish. 3% chance. Be a slog, but it might be all right.
Yeah.
That might be it. This time of year is as good as it gets. Big L.
It's after, though. Here's the thing, though. That Sunday is coming on the heels of 2 days of a washout. It's going to be
muddy. The only thing you can hope for is that you get if the 96 on Thursday and then the 84 that follows it on Friday, percent chance of rain.
Yeah.
That 84 is in the early morning hours. Like maybe it's really early in the morning on Friday, and then you get all day Friday, all day Saturday to kind of soak it up.
I don't think that's what I was looking at. I think Thursday is all day. What you really need is it to be insanely windy. That would be the only way that we could get maybe a respite. Yeah.
Speaking of weather, did you see that thing that's attacking Jamaica? Hurricane Melissa?
Crazy. Certainly hope everybody is okay, and it looks insane. Did you see the video of the plane that flew?
I did.
That blows my mind.
I don't understand that. I mean, that is tornado chasing to the millionth power.
So I get that you can get into that center spot where it's like blue skies and you're looking around. It creates like a stadium effect, they call it.
Yeah.
And that is really amazing. But you have to get there.
Give me those, I think. Do you know how this happens?
I mean, you have to fly through it, but that seems to me the flight until you reach that spot would be fraught with great peril.
Out of the atmosphere and then down
Yeah.
in?
No, they
How
go
do they do it?
right through the middle.
Wow.
They fly right through it.
It's crazy.
I mean, yesterday, it's the first time that I can remember it happening. The one plane had to abort. It got the G's were so strong that they actually had to abort. So I was telling the guys earlier, like, this is the equivalent of like a Category 4 tornado.
Okay.
Okay, this isn't even an F5. This is an F4.
Okay.
The problem is, like, an F4 tornado lasts 2 to 3 minutes. Now, it does a lot of damage. It does catastrophic damage. This is like an F4 tornado for like 3 or 4 hours at a time. And then a calm, and then right back up with the wind going the other direction. So blowing everything back at you. I don't know how these people that didn't get out are going to do this.
We need to talk to our buddies at the United States Navy and figure out. One other thing that struck me about it was they weren't using a jet; they were using a propeller plane.
Correct. That's
So-
they do that for all of them.
And so there must be something
To that.
something aerospace wise to that makes that more effective than a jet. Because I feel like I'd rather be in an F-35.
I am dying for a fly along on that.
I'm out.
I want to.
You would want to do that?
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Into the eye of
wanna
a hurricane.
I want to ride along. You can have your Blue Angels. I want to ride.
You
want to
ride one of those guys? Well, we
I
know
wanna
people.
go.
We know people. That might be. I'm guessing that's a Coast Guard type situation. Maybe would that be?
No, that's a Navy.
That's Navy. Okay.
Oh yeah,
God bless America's Navy.
that might be an Air Force.
Okay.
I think it might
either
be
way,
Air Force.
All good guys. Yeah, that's wild. There is, and that thing from above is crazy. And then you think about Jamaica, like quite literally on an island. Like if you could have gotten out, you would have had to have gotten out probably by Sunday. And now you just pray at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. You've done the tornado stuff, Gibby. I've done the hurricane stuff when I was in Florida. We had a hurricane Hummer, and we would take it down to the coast when the tornado or when the hurricanes would come in or tropical storms. I only drove down there once with my buddy who was a meteorologist. We drove down in there. That's the most humbling I've ever been. Most humbled I've ever been by nature in my life. Like, okay, not much we can do about this.
Can we go back inside where there's walls?
The size of it is just gone.
Yeah.
And then it just rains forever. Like it rained 11 inches with winds, and you just slowly see the water raise, and you go, "There's nothing I can do. Hope it's okay. Hope things are okay underneath all of that." It's terrifying stuff, man. Absolutely. But the one thing about hurricanes is they're coming. Like there's it's tornadoes pop up, But hurricanes,
where do you go on an island?
You got to get, so that's it. They're quite literally
with
on an
mountains,
island.
so.
Yeah. I've not been to Jamaica. I know the Hoff's been there a few times. Have you guys ever been?
My wife has been. I have not.
Yeah, I've not been.
I've been to the Bahamas. I've not been
too.
to Jamaica.
Yeah, never to Jamaica. But God bless those folks down there. So what we had the sports. What do they call it? The sports equinox last night. Every major sport was going.
That's the term for it.
Is that the term, Kev? Yeah,
I like it.
So they had it all. So you had, if you were interested in MLS, and of course we're interested in the Columbus Crew around here because they're part of the business, and they playing their playoff leg against FC Cincinnati. They lost. You had I think several NHL games. You had a couple of NBA games, including the Cavs, and then you had Game 3 of the World Series, and then you had Monday Night Football. So all of this stuff was happening on one night.
Yeah. You had Game 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the World Series, apparently. Did it end at 3 a.m. local time?
2:45, 6 in the morning, something like that. They played two games.
Games. It was 6 hours and 39 minutes, 18 innings.
Yeah, and I don't know what you do with how you put Ohtani into perspective. So the last time he played at Dodger Stadium, he hit the 3 home runs, and then he had the 10 Ks and 5. He struck out 10, and then hit 3 bombs. And then yesterday, he hit 2 home runs, hit a double, went 4 for 4, and then they walked him 5 times.
So he's the first person ever to reach base 9 times.
9 times in a game.
World Series game.
That going forward, like the Blue Jays after the game were like, he will not see another pitch to hit this World Series.
And the crazy thing is in Toronto, he struck out a lot, and then he got back to Dodger Stadium, and 2 out, another double that scored, and he's pitching tonight.
Against Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
Former guard.
Did you see his post-game, he's interviewed through his interpreter, and they asked him, how are you feeling? He got to get ready. He goes, I just want to go to bed right now so I can stuff.
With all due
and
respect.
Then just started laughing. He's like, yeah, I really not really into this interview so much. I'd like to just go to bed.
I'd rather just go to sleep because I'm pitching tonight. There's not much of a conversation anymore. It's funny. It's one of those like hot sports takes that used to be you'd say like he's the greatest baseball player of all time, and you'd get all the Babe Ruth and all that. Now you say it, and people are just like, there's not even an argument on the other side. People are just resigned to, he is. This is
from a financial standpoint, he's doing this at the right time to be the greatest of all time. But from a just where that would put him in in society, he's 70 years late. Like if he was doing this in the 1950s. 60s.
I think even in the McGuire, Sosa late
80s,
90s.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you remember how big of a deal that was when they were chasing 60.
Biggest,
That was the whole thing anybody talked about all summer. Even 25 years ago, it's a different feel. But you're right, apex would have been 50s, 60s. But even massive would have been 25 years ago. And I'm curious. I'm curious to see what the what the audience is for it, because is he somebody that transcends the sport? Is he somebody that people will say, you got to see what's happening here and go watch it? I don't think so. My hunch is that it won't. I'm guessing you're not going to have massive World Series ratings for what we've seen, but maybe we'll be proven wrong. But in terms of the financial impact, he's basically going to be paid $1 billion by the Dodgers by the time his career is over to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what business the Los Angeles Dodgers do in Japan? I mean, that is a wealthy nation with a lot of people. And they have him, Yamamoto. Like, that's next level.
So this is probably the most internationally watched World Series ever. Game 1 of the World Series broadcast in Japan had a high viewership rating point of 18.2%, which is, I guess, how they do it, which means 18%.
8% of the televisions were watching. That's a lot of TVs.
16.6% of the televisions in Canada watched. More than a sixth of the population of Canada watched Game 1.
Yeah, the Canadians get behind their. That's their only team. They don't have the Expos anymore, so the whole country.
I was educating the fine gentleman in here about the Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
Domestically,
G-Man knew about him. All right, G-Man knew about it. He got all hurt right there when I said that.
Don't be hurt, G-Man.
Domestically,
but J-Mac now knows.
Most viewed postseason since 2017. That was leading into the World Series.
Yeah, so that's a win.
Yeah, I see it's weird. They may have the Canadian numbers. Let's see. Game 1 of the 2025 World Series watched by an average of 7 million Canadians. That's more than a sixth of the entire population of Canada. But I don't see the American ratings. So I'm able to find Japanese ratings and
the word of mouth of what he's doing, though. Like, I'd be curious what tonight's start looks like off of that. Because obviously, if you're Toronto, you just walk him. Like, it's enough. You just walk him and move it along. But he's pitching too, so like.
So the most watched program in the history of Canada.
Was it really?
No. The most watched.
The most.
So this is what they're saying. If it goes to Game 7, maybe.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
I'm going to say. I'm going to say the final of the Olympic hockey United States Canada gold medal game at the Vancouver Olympics was the most watched.
All right. Next level is next.
Did
even
I get
if
it?
It's not. Yeah, we're going. Let's go.
That's enough.
Let's go.
We'll see you on down the line.
It's not going to get any better than that, folks. It's not going to get any better than that.
That's pretty good. That's a good job out of me.
You should probably go back here.
Where's my big B? Where's my big B? That's the one Crosby walked off. Yeah. Crosby won it off of an Iginla feed. Memory serves. That's the golden goal. What a job.
What a job.
What a job.
2010, Game 7. By the way, that one was watched by 16.6 million, and it peaked with 27 million viewers in Canada.
There's only 30 million people in Canada.
So there you go.
The whole country watched.
Yeah.
If you had a TV, you were watching.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like, what was, I want to know, I think there should be a show where you go interview the 3.5 or like,
who are the people who did it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Like, nah,
don't care.
I don't need to see it.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
What a call by you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Did you know it was 2010? Did you get that?
I didn't know the year, but I knew that it
was
United States Canada gold. I had a feeling it was United States Canada gold medal game in the Vancouver Olympics. They
Crosby's
put everything
golden goal.
on it. It was Lemieux was on that staff for Team Canada. Gretzky, Yzerman, they were all involved, and it was like, we got to get this back for Canada. It's on our turf. We got to win it. It's probably Crosby, and Crosby's won cups. He's won 3 cups. He's an MVP. He's all those things. One of the greatest players ever. It's probably his most important moment
of his career.
And he scored it's the golden
goal.
You know,
yep.
He walked off. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable moment. What did you make of Monday night?
The game
went how we thought.
Oh yeah. Not a surprise at all. They're very good. I mean, it's Mariota. It's so interesting. I was cooking, put Luca to bed, came down, finished cooking, so I was able to watch kind of the pregame from basically 7:40 ish until kick.
Yeah.
And Marcus Mariota is a nice player. This is not anti-Marcus Mariota. But they were just like going on and on about how he's the best backup in the league and how this, they have a chance to play. And McLaurin is saying he has a calm about him that I've never seen a quarterback where you just know everything's going to work out. And I'm thinking to myself, so the guy was 29-32 as a starter in Tennessee. That ended in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the number 2 pick in the draft.
Since then, he's 6-10 as a starter. That's it.
Yeah.
He didn't get a chance to start again until that year in Atlanta. And he goes 5-8 and then leaves the team when Arthur Smith is like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah, just left.
And then this year he's 1-2 with Washington. But to be meanwhile,
that's interesting salesmanship on their end.
It was just, I was sitting there being like, this is just a stunning bit of commentary. But yeah, that you knew, that one was in the bag. First of all.
This ain't Steve Bono.
No, Steve Bono's great.
Of course.
It was, I'm just watching, I'm thinking to myself.
You don't remember Steve Bono, Gibby? Gibby doesn't remember. You remember Steve Bono.
I do. We're going to besmirch Steve Young, but you're going to give praise to Steve Bono?
Steve Bono's great. Yeah.
He's a worthy backup.
He was and he knew his role.
He knew his role.
He knew his role.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Man's got to know his role.
Steve Bono knew his limitations.
Steve Young
So did
not.
Steve Young.
No, he did not
right in
know
and
his
took
role.
him to a Super Bowl.
You don't you? There's, unfortunately for you, there's no frame of reference.
At 317, I've worked him into a sheet.
There's no frame of reference, unfortunately. I wish that there were a frame of reference here, but there is no frame of reference. But it would be like, I'm trying to think of people who are just immensely popular. It would be like if in Pittsburgh, they just decided after Mario Lemieux had won 4 in 9 years.
Yeah.
That like, and it doesn't make sense because they have lines, so you could have multiple people, but they were just like, you know what, dude? Like, you need to go.
It's kind of
Yager's team
kind of
now.
Rodgers, honestly.
You need to go.
Except if Rodgers won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
In Green Bay. Like, they drafted his replacement when they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Except he only won the 1 Super Bowl, not 4.
Right.
That's the closest kind of thing that we've seen in sport. And it has to be quarterback. It can't be anything else because there's nobody else.
I'm trying to think somebody, but like Joe was so popular. He was Joe Montana. Joe Cool.
Yeah, universally best quarterback in the league. Yeah. I believe the technical term my kids call that is rage bait.
What he's doing?
Yeah.
That's his whole existence.
Is rage bait.
Yeah.
Only for you, buddy.
Great.
Kansas City, to get some bad news, Pacheco dinged in this game. How about Kareem still running that way?
Dude,
isn't that amazing?
I've got him on one of my fantasy
that
teams.
He's still got that in the tank, and he still runs that violently, that hard, that one cut, get up field.
It's
crazy.
At one point, he converted one that put him at 9 for 10 on the season on 3rd or 4th and 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we saw that here 2 years ago. Like, that's just what he was. If you had a 3rd and short, he's picking up 2 yards.
Yeah. Rashee Rice changes the whole dynamic for them. It's huge having him back. And so now they've got, and then guess what? Oh, Kelsey's now looking good again because now you're worried about Worthy and Rashee Rice. Mahomes looks
made
great.
The play in the 3rd quarter. He scrambles left, kind of not really with the intent to throw. He's just drifting left, like waiting for somebody to break. And he's kind of backpedaling sideways, and he throws it kind of backwards across the field to Rashee Rice, who kind of had broke free, and then Rashee turned it up and picked up like 28 yards. And I just went, okay, there they are.
Oh, yeah.
They're back. Like, that's...
I did think there was one moment that was great with Kelsey, listen, Kelsey's been in this league a long time. Kelsey's not a spring chicken anymore at this point.
No.
Or the one where it was supposed to go down the field, he was blocking, he just kind of released and he throws it to him and he had the field open. And like when you're maybe a little bit older or you know you don't have kind of the extra gear you have, he like put his head down so that he could run faster. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't just a smooth a gazelle. He was like,
I gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta put my head down. I'm not even looking where I'm going. I'm trying to run so fast. I thought that was great. 99 yards for me. Tied Priest Holmes for the most touchdowns in Kansas City history.
Great job by Mahomes to go get the ball.
Yes. By the way, here's one for you. Travis Kelce has been nothing short of spectacular, right?
Yep.
For the kids in there. I'm going to ask the kids. So Travis Kelce has played 13 years in the NFL.
Jeez.
Okay. How many seasons do you guys think Priest Holmes, who we just tied for touchdowns, how many seasons do you think Priest Holmes played with the Kansas City Chiefs?
It was like 4. 4 or 5. Like, it was not many.
It's a good job out of the G-Man.
It is a good job out of the G-Man.
I don't know what the answer is, but I would have guessed 5.
So the answer is technically 6.
Okay.
But he played 16 games, 14 games, 16 games, 8, 7, 4. So 65 games. In 65 games, he scored 86 touchdowns. His 3-year period where he was the man.
Yeah.
2,169 total yards, 10 touchdowns. 2,287 total yards, 24 touchdowns. 2,110 yards, 27 touchdowns. And then in 2004, in 8 games, 1,100 total yards and 15 touchdowns.
In 8 games?
That's
he
right.
had 15 touchdowns?
That's right.
Well, that's like what, isn't Jonathan Taylor on that? He's got 12 in 8?
Jonathan Taylor, yes. Yeah, he's
so
cooking.
that's kind of where you have to
He has 3 years in a row where he is first-team All-Pro, Pro Bowl, and top 5 in MVP and Offensive Player of the Year voting, including him winning Offensive Player of the Year in 2002. Like, I know that he probably won't, but he should. To me, he should be a Hall of Famer.
I think the only thing that separates you'd have to look to see like where they stack up statistically, but it's not that dissimilar to Terrell Davis, except Davis has the Super Bowls, and maybe that pushes him over the edge. I think a Gale Sayers when you do that. What you just did with Priest Holmes, like it is so dominant for a short period of time. It's so weird to wrap your head around it.
Here we go. Write these down.
All right.
Terrell Davis, 7,607 yards rushing, 60 touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry, 1,280 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
This is
career accomplishment.
This is career accomplishment.
Yep.
So career total yards from scrimmage is 8,887 and 65 touchdowns.
Okay.
By the way, also just a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time MVP, and he was a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year. By the way, none of these seasons that he had compares to the best of Priest Holmes. All right, Priest Holmes. 8,172 yards rushing.
Jeez.
86 touchdowns rushing. 4.6 yards a carry. 2,962 yards receiving.
Jeez.
8 touchdowns receiving. So whopping total, 11,134 total. 94 total touchdowns. Wow. Blows him out of the water.
Blows him out of the water. It's the 2 Super Bowls.
Blows him out of the water.
Yeah, it's not close.
Not particularly
It's the 2
close.
Super Bowls for TD. That's what it is. You get the Super Bowls, and then you get that extra, you get that boost that comes with it. He's got the MVP. Holmes has got the Offensive Player of the Year. I haven't even, where is Priest Holmes?
I was also going to, where does 94 touchdowns rank all time?
Hold, please.
But I haven't heard from Priest Holmes in years. Like, you don't see him around.
Jerry Rice is the leader, 208.
Yeah. Rushing leader is Emmett.
Jerry Rice, 208. Emmett, 175. LaDainian, 162. Renamos, 157. T.O., 156. Marcus Allen, 145. Marshall Falk, 136. Chris Carter, 131. Marvin Harrison, 128. Jim Brown and Adrian Peterson, 126.
So it's not as close as...
Derrick Henry, 117, is the only guy that is...
that's active in the vicinity.
And Devontae Adams, a 109. Sean Alexander had 112.
Dude, you want to talk about greatness?
Oh, I know.
Devontae Adams is halfway to Jerry Rice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, his career's coming to an end. He's halfway.
100 behind him, and he's playing.
That's like if you took away everyone's goals in the NHL, since we keep talking about hockey. You take away Gretzky's goals, he's still the points leader by like 500.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Couple of things on our side of things. We have claimed tight end Brendan Bates via waivers from Houston to make room on the roster. The team waived cornerback Jarek Bernard Converse. Bates, 6'5", 255, second season out of Kentucky. Originally signed with the Bears as an undrafted free agent in 24. Has appeared in 10 games with the Jets, Browns, Texans. Appeared in 3 games with the Browns in 2024. Spent time on the team's practice squad. In addition to that, we signed tight end Caden Priestcorn to the practice squad to make room. We released running back Armani Marshall from the practice squad. 2 tight ends in. What do you make of that?
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. You could look at conspiracy. Nate means that maybe David Njoku is being bandied about, and you're preparing for in the event that you do make a move there. The other could be that they want more out of the third tight end position, Blake Whiteheart, and they're bringing in real competition for him. Now, they didn't add one for Blake Whiteheart.
No.
Which is notable. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Harold Fannin leave that game towards the end dinged up?
Yes.
But there was no comment about it yesterday.
No, they literally, Njoku and a trainer literally carried him. He couldn't put any weight on his leg.
But he was not brought up in Stefanski's.
He's not.
Correct. No, I don't know if there was no designation, Because it was at the end of the game. It was like the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game.
Right, but we saw it. So then that was the other part. Makes me wonder if it's just as simple as maybe
I
he's
think also
hurt.
Isaiah Bond went to the locker room at one point in that fourth quarter.
Interesting.
So, yeah, there were more. There were the official designations, but there were a few other guys that at some point or another went as well. So maybe there's nothing and we're all right, but I don't know.
Interesting.
It prompted texts from a great many people to me being like, "Are we trading a joke?" Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll find out when you find out.
What is it, next week? Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday. A week from.
That's a busy day, dude.
Be right at 4 o'clock.
That's Election Day, NFL trade deadline, first college football playoff rankings
there
of that
he is.
day.
He's saying hi. There he is.
Hey, Tarves.
Hey, the great Tarves.
Let's go, baby. Good.
That's all you need.
He's in a much better mood than he was last time I saw him.
That's all you need. Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Additionally, the new Rumpke Recycling and Resource Center helps feed the circular economy by supplying Ohio companies and others in Midwest with material they need to put what you place in your bins to good use. To learn more about the facility and how you can recycle more, visit rumpke.com today. Joel Bitonio from the press conference from the podium coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Score big with Howard Hanna, official real estate partner of your Cleveland Browns at Northeast Ohio's #1 real estate provider. They're dedicated to helping you make the best move. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns to explore your winning options today. Time to head to the podium now, presented by Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats, Berkshire official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here is guard Joel Bitonio.
Hi, Joel.
You're down.
My question is, Miles, after the game yesterday, talked about the fact that during the bye week, at some point during the bye, he's going to try to talk to coaches and players and involve himself a little bit in other aspects of the team to see if there's anything that he can do to try to find the fix for what ails you guys. So my question to you is that something, as a longtime team leader, will you get involved or offer suggestions, sit down with Kevin or talk to the coaches yourself, or what is your approach to that?
Yeah, we've, have ongoing discussions. We have leadership meetings every week where we try and have our input from some of our leaders on our team. And I think we're going to do a breakdown. Today was obviously the game review, but I think tomorrow we're going to do a breakdown of where we're at this season, what we need to work on as players, what the coaches want to work on as coaches. And we had the analogy today that it's a 17-round fight for us, and we're, only at the halfway point. So, finding any way that we can fix things, or if we have ideas. And I think Miles has played football at a high level for long enough to have his opinion, and I'm sure the coaches will and players will listen to what he says.
And do you feel like you need to see something, some kind of a change, some kind of assurance that, I don't know, that you guys are going to run the ball more? Or do you need to see a change to make you feel hopeful that this can get turned around going forward?
Yeah, for us on offense, we just got to execute, what is asked of us. There's so many plays where it's one guy each play, where it's like, well, this was called really well. We had a guy open and a lineman gets beat on the play, or we have a great run and we need someone to block, the backside linebacker, and we just don't get to that guy. Like, there's so many little things in the execution game where I think if we look at that and we try and improve on those aspects, then we'll see. I know they're going to do a breakdown of the team and the roster and where we're at. And we got when we call runs, we have to execute. We have to get yards. We have to do that to make sure we, as a team, we still believe in the run. And our defense is playing great, and we obviously haven't lived up to our side of the bargain.
Hey, Joel. So I guess off of that, you talk about the run game. Why do you think it wasn't what you wanted yesterday?
Yeah, that first drive, we had that nice little, jet sweep to Malachi. He got 35 yards on that, set up a play action kind of off that, and scored. And then they were kind of running base defense to whatever personnel we put out there on first down. And so I think that limited our run game calls. If we bring 11 out there, or we can spread them out and try and pass them out of the base defense. So I think it was those. And then when we actually look at the tape, like I kind of talked about with Mary Kay, it's one guy on a play where it's like we have a double team, and then last minute when the guy leaves, it kind of gets split, or one guy gets missed assignment on that play. And when you only get 12 or 13 called runs, you have to find a way to execute so we're confident, so we can keep the ball, so we can establish those runs.
Do you think there's, when Kevin talks about evaluating everything, and we're talking about the run game, could we see more outside runs coming out of the bye? Because you know better than I do, but it doesn't feel like there's as many of those as straight kind of inside the tackle handoffs.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be part of the evaluation. Like, we have to look at everything, and if they see like, hey, it's favorable, we got to open this up a little bit more. We know what Quinshon likes to do in the run game, but we also have Samp and Jerome that can do things on the edge for us, and just find a way to get more called and be more successful in it.
Hey, Joel, kind of off of that, we've talked all year about the tackle situation and the revolving door and everything, and you're starting to get some continuity with Cam over there. Jack was back in the lineup last week. But for you guys in the middle, how much have you guys sort of found yourself having to almost try to overcompensate at times during the course of the season to help, alleviate some of the pressure off of whoever might be out there on the edge in those situations?
Yeah, it's kind of getting a feel for how your tackle plays and understanding, some of the tackles like to run the guys around the edge a little bit more. Some of the guys set them a little bit more straight up where there's more of a two-way go. Passing off games and twist is something you gain with experience with the guy, and just kind of feel that out. I wouldn't say overcompensating. There's been times in games where it's like, hey, we got a great pass rusher out there. Like, let's keep our eyes out there a little bit more instead of firming the pocket up on the inside. So it's really a game-to-game thing. But I'm getting more and more comfortable with Cam as the game goes on. We have a lot of confidence in those guys to, hopefully we can keep this five together and try and build something in the second half.
Also with Dylan, obviously, he's only had 4 starts under his belt. Just in what ways can you as a veteran sort of help him along, and, not let everything sort of snowball, the weight of it all kind of snowball onto him.
Yeah, I think this week, just giving him some, getting the time away from the building and time off to reset your mind, to have an understanding of, hey, this is a long season. Like, it's been 4 games into your career, into this season. And then as a group, just performing for him. Like, so, everything we can get as good as possible for him to have the ability to come in and execute and make the plays he's capable of.
Yeah, Joel, yesterday, Kevin said that he is sticking with Dylan Gabriel coming out of the bye. And then I asked him today, why wouldn't you maybe just try Shedeur just to see if that might affect any kind of change? So the question is, why might you think, if you agree with that, why might another quarterback change might not be the fix here?
Yeah, we have confidence in Dylan to keep improving. He's had 4 games. He had some tough matchups. And we want the offense to continue to grow. Like, it's not a one-person issue at times, so we want to give our quarterbacks a chance. And I think this bye week, give him a chance to reset, is going to be good for his growth, like I kind of mentioned. And for a young guy in this league, like, 4 games is so minuscule on a big platform. So we have to give him a chance to adjust and to see what he likes. Like, I think going back, rewatching these games and being like, what plays were we successful with on offense? Like, what does he like? How does he like to move in the pocket? Where does he like to set up? All those things are still questions that we have to answer. And then as an offense, we want to perform better to give him a chance to truly be evaluated.
I got one more for you, Joel. You talked about having limited number of runs. Do you feel pressure is a line or is a run unit that if it doesn't hit early, you're not going to get that chance to let it hit late?
Yeah, I mean, as a group, we are, trying to be as good as possible on every run, and it's just game flow / where we're at as an offense, where we want to be successful early, so we have confidence to be able to call those plays later on.
Yeah, I do have one more. What did you think about Miles' individual performance yesterday? That's kind of gotten, not overlooked, but gets kind of overshadowed by the loss.
Yeah, it was special. I think we all know, anybody who's paid attention to the NFL, he's the best, defensive player in the league, best pass rusher. And, sometimes sacks don't always tell the story. And to get a game where he gets 5 sacks is impressive as heck. We all know who've been here, how hard he is to block and the things he can do on a football field. So it was impressive. I wish we would have, played better for him yesterday so it could be a little bit more celebrated. But it was an incredible performance.
Again? No, I do have one more. Joel, just real quick, what can you do as one of the team leaders to help another team leader, your number 1 wide receiver, not get frustrated during this time when it's just not going his way right now?
Yeah, I think it's okay to be frustrated. If you aren't frustrated at this point, as a member of the team, like, I think that's, bigger red flag. So for him to be frustrated is fine. I think it's finding a way to use that frustration as whatever type of motivation we need. And I know he's had his conversations with Coach Stefanski and the offense and just getting everybody on the same page. We saw, glimpses last year of what Jerry Jeudy can do as a receiver. And so we know that's still in there, and we know we have to give him opportunities to make those plays. But the frustration, we just need to turn that into urgency and turn that into, motivation to get it right.
All right, there you go, Joel Bitonio from the podium. Coming up next, your Microsoft Minute. We'll give you our final thoughts on the Patriots game, go around the sports world as well. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Junior Browns backers, the Cleveland Browns official kid club presented by University Hospitals Rainbow Babies and Children in association with Cardinal Credit Union. It's back for season 2 for kids age 4 to 12. A season full of Browns memories, exclusive gear, experiences, events, and plenty of surprises all season long. Visit juniorbrownsbackers.com to join today. Time for the Microsoft Minute presented by Microsoft and the Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC. And for more on that, we turn it over to Dr. Z.
Look, not great offensively. I think we all know that. But let's just focus for a little bit right now on the defense of the Cleveland Browns. And something that, Myles Garrett's greatness, that stands out. We all know that. We saw him have the 5 sacks in this game. Just an incredible tour de force performance from Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is now your NFL's leader in sacks with 10. He's your NFL leader in tackles for loss with 15. But one thing that we've really been looking for this whole time while Myles Garrett has been here is to have that guy or guys opposite him that are able to hold up their end of the bargain. And I think one of the things that we've really learned this year is that, yes, the Browns do have them here, and they have them here right now on rookie contracts because Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright are playing fantastic football.
Yep.
Alex Wright last week had a career-high 3 tackles for a loss. In his last 4 games, Alex Wright has got 8 tackles for a loss. He now has 9 on the season. Alex Wright also has 3 sacks on the season. So let's just do some numbers really quickly. So Miles on one side for you has 10 sacks and 15 tackles for a loss. Now you're not going to expect the guys opposite Myles Garrett to necessarily match that production. I think that's reasonable. But here's what they are doing. Myles Garrett also has 1 forced fumble. Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire have combined this season for 4 sacks. Not bad. That is fine. You're getting a sack, 1 sack every other game out of that other side. That is fine. And they have combined, here's the one, for 14 tackles for a loss. They also have a forced fumble. So they have been
that's pretty good.
Kind of what you've been looking for opposite Myles Garrett for a long time. Guy that's going to give you 8+ sacks, and in this case, they're on pace for almost 30 tackles for a loss on the other side. Those are impactful plays. And if Myles Garrett is leading the league with 15 tackles for a loss, that means the guys opposite him would be second in the league at 14.
Yeah.
Combined. And that's how I look at it. So I think that has been one of the real bright spots this season and something you've certainly been looking for. And Alex Wright is turning into a big-time player. He has 3 of the sacks and 9 of the tackles for a loss himself. So I think he's playing very good football. So if there's anything, this defense has done well, but really you're looking at that spot opposite Myles Garrett. I think it's in as good a shape as it's been in for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been very, very solid. Both those guys have been great, Alex especially. And, the other thing I want to bring attention to here really quickly, you mentioned this yesterday briefly, but then, and we'll talk about this a little bit more with the Hoff later, it would be amazing if you could do some sort of a data on Miles's first half when the games are close. I know we'll talk about this with Joe. I'd like to find that, yeah. I'd be very curious to see what that data looks like because it's got to be just overwhelming dominance that he has in that part of the game to make up for it because in a lot of these second halves, we're burning clock, you're running the ball, quarterback's out quick. It's something that I'd be very curious about as I don't know who could do it, PFF guys or somebody like that. I don't know.
I think it'd be easy to track. If somebody went through his game logs and his play-by-plays, you could say this first, you could list which quarter everything
where it all took place.
Yeah,
because it's pretty remarkable what he's done. When you are ahead of Reggie White on lists, that's a good list.
It's a good list
to be at the top of. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today, get 50 back in bonus bets. You place that first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet is official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. We'll play a little risk reward presented by the Oswald Companies with our good buddy Dave Zastil coming up next. The Joe Thomas half hour of the program will follow that. Second hour of the program is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. The Joe Thomas half hour of the program coming up here momentarily. Time now for Risk versus Reward, presented by the Oswald Companies. And we're joined in studio by our former punter and the current managing director at Oswald Companies, the great Dave Zastil, joining us in studio. Last week, fun little win. This week, we got punched in the mouth a little bit in New England. First half, you're in it. You're in a fight, and then you get some adjustments, and New England does what it does. As you took it in, and the funny thing was, we started so great, Dave. I mean, you get that first drive, you go right down the field, just weren't able to continue that. What did you take from a tough loss over in Foxborough?
Yeah, it was a tough loss. I mean, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Steelers game, and only comparison is at half the Steelers game it was 9-3, right? So you have two halftime games where you are within a score, so you're in the game, you're going to halftime feeling pretty good about yourself. You got to clean up things, then the halftime adjustments come, and clearly New England found some things and took advantage of it. But they're a good football team. I mean, you got a quarterback that you could arguably say is the best quarterback in the league. Young guy in year 2, I think. And, he had some struggles last year, there's no doubt. But you're starting to see what happens in teams that get a quarterback, develop them, and then that year 2, right? Then they start ascending, and the teams follow that. So they're a good football team. We're a 2-6 team. It is what it is. But you could definitely see the second half, the better football team kind of taking over the game.
Yeah, Drake May has tied Patrick Mahomes now. Only quarterbacks 24 or younger to have 7 straight games with 200 yards passing and a 100 quarterback rating. He went into the game leading the league in quarterback rating and completion percentage, left the game leading the league in quarterback rating and completion percentage. He is quite good. Mike Vrabel obviously has made a big impact as well. That was a good team, but
they're second in the league in point differential. It's Indy.
Yeah, they're very good.
They're number 2 in the league in point
and they
differential.
lost to Pittsburgh in a game in which they turned it over 5 times
and lost to the
twice
Raiders
inside
week 1.
And lost to the Raiders week 1.
Stupefying.
And when that's it.
Yeah,
that's the list. When you look at our defense, and we have been very good, and even you mentioned the road in particular. It's been like good for the first half. Offense does nothing really from the opening drive through the end of the third quarter, and then the floodgates open. We've given up a lot of points on the road because of that, even though in the first half we've been there. How do we combat that, and how do you keep the sideline and the locker room unified when you have one level unit that's elite and the other is unfortunately not?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? I mean, you got guys that are Myles Garrett had 5 sacks.
Five sacks.
Yeah. The defense is as far as rating goes, top 5, top 10 defense, depending on which stats you look at, and they're going out doing their job. Special teams lately have started to do their job, and the offense is still not up to the standards that I think Coach Stefanski wants them to be. I think the fans want them to be. I think there is a standard that this bye week, I'm hoping, allows everybody to go back, take a deep breath, reevaluate everything. But it's tough when you go to the stat line, in New England, and you see that your wide receivers really weren't targeted that much. It could be a lot of variety of reasons for that, but in the NFL, that's a problem. I mean, guys like Jerry Jeudy, has the ability to make plays. I think when you look at those stats, you're going to find out a way that moving forward, we got to get these receivers opportunities to get the ball.
Yeah, and when you've identified those problems, I guess maybe that's where we go next. Okay, you have this bye week. As if you're Kevin Stefanski, you start to say, okay, we have to find ways to find success, and then we've got to implement it. How much work can be done in a bye week? How much can you change with a week off?
Well, I think, first of all, bye weeks in the NFL are huge. I mean, it's a long season. So just, I know this is a little bit of technically an earlier bye week because we have a longer second half, but guys get to be able to, number one, you get to heal up. You got a lot of guys that are playing in the NFL that are just, have a little dings, little bruises, things that they can play, but maybe it's affecting them to be 100%. So that's number one. Number two is you get to really sit down and evaluate all the games that you've played so far. You got Dylan Gabriel that's played 4 games. You're going to see which plays were successful. You're going to see which plays weren't. He's going to learn from those things. So I expect that Dylan Gabriel to probably be a better quarterback going forward, just by the sense of having a break, spending more time in the film room, being more comfortable going out. Now, the caveat to that is the weather's going to start to turn. Dylan Gabriel in this offense is going to start to have windier weather. You're going to have rain. You're going to have cold weather. you're going to have to figure out a way to run the ball. Now, one positive I can say, Cam Robinson was in there. Hopefully that stability on the offensive line is there going forward. Joe Bitonio said today on the radio that his communication with Cam Robinson was getting better, and he hopes that stability helps because that's going to help the run game going forward. So you have to have that because in cold weather, in the windy weather, you're going to have to rely on the run.
And unfortunately, we're running a lot of now 7, 8, 9-man boxes because teams don't respect our ability to throw it down the field. So when you said, Dylan coming out, we certainly all hope that it will be a better looking offense coming out of the bye week. What would be a sign to you that yes, things are looking better, and if they aren't, how long do you keep going with this?
Yeah, a couple things. That's a good question. My opinion is you got to limit the penalties. Right, this is an offense that can't afford to get first down and 10.
Anything negative,
it can't do that. So if we can show improvement there, it's number one. Number two is it's okay with this type of offense to chunk the ball down the field. There's two reasons for that. As long as you're moving the chains, you're keeping a Drake May off the sideline. You're keeping Lamar Jackson off the side, on the sideline. So if you can still find efficiencies to move the ball down the field, get some points. You're taking time off the clock,
sure.
And then you're putting a top 5 defense out there to keep the game close. You're giving yourself a chance. But if we put ourselves behind the 8 ball right off the bat, that's, to me, a first step in improvement on efficiency that gives you a chance. Other than that, we are going to have to attack the ball down the field and continue to run the ball well.
Yeah, and it's just such a young quarterback room. I mean, luckily we've got, Kevin's obviously very heavy-handed in the offense and with the quarterbacks, and Bill's there and Tommy's there too. So you have some guys, but I mean, you're talking about a 3rd-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and Bailey Zappi. So there's not that veteran, hey, come save us, give us a couple of games to settle things down. It's all kids out there. So, and I know Dylan is wise beyond his years, and we know what he's being coached up to do. And I do think you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago in risk versus reward. This idea of, hey, get it out, no negative plays, no sacks, no none of it. But what you're doing, and Nathan made this point Monday, I thought it was such an astute point, the way that you said it. We're basically playing offense in the red zone the whole game.
Yeah.
And that's just – there's a reason the red zone's so tough.
Right.
It's
compresses the field.
It compresses everything. And so until we unlock something down the field, whether you don't want to just take shots, but sometimes you kind of need to. You've got to be able to have something down the field going, and we haven't for a while now.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately the one that we took the chance on. Obviously, you saw the interception on that.
Yeah.
But, I think it's positive we took a shot. Where the team is right now, in my opinion, people always talk about we traded Greg Newsome, we traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals. The thing about general managers in this league, and I know everybody wants to live in today's world, like today, right? They do have to think about the future, right? So Joe Flacco, would he be here next year? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
And are we a bona fide playoff team that's going to go? Probably not, right? So when you get a 5th-round draft pick for him, Greg Newsome, we knew what he's going to probably ask for in the free agent market. You get a young, other great. So I know there's been some talk in the media and fans talking about why we're trading these guys, and especially the Bengals. These are tough decisions, but I think at the end of the day, you have to look at what's best for the situation now. And I honestly think getting a 5th-round pick for Flacco at 40-something years old and getting Tyson Campbell in here, that's a hard-hitting. Obviously, he showed some promise in some
good
games.
Cover corner, yeah.
There are within this year that is not going the way we want. There are still some pretty good decisions that are being made, I think, that are trying to help this team get out of this cap hit, right? So you're still going to have to deal with this cap hit for the next couple of years. And so the more draft picks we can accumulate, I think it's still some positive things in a negative season so far.
Do you think we'll be pretty active in the next week?
On acquiring, probably not, unless there's some really good opportunities out there. I've heard Jerome Forbes' name obviously brought up there. Shelby Harris, I think, was out there a little bit. I think if the opportunity is to help our football team and help our future, we will. I just don't really see anything right now that's going to be overwhelming. That's just my opinion.
What is and it sometimes it's Adam Schefter said this could be one of the biggest NFL trade deadlines ever, that there could be a lot of teams making moves. What's that like in the locker room when you get close to trade deadline time?
Yeah, the one thing in my experience is pretty much everyone that I played with and I remember was a professional. The hardest part about the trade deadline is if you lose a friend, you lose a guy that you've been with for a long time, and you've gotten to know their families because you're not going to see them tomorrow and the next day, and maybe you guys go out to dinner and your kids play. That's the challenging part. I tell people all the time, you don't miss the game. I don't miss the game as much as I retired. I miss the locker room, the bonding, the traveling on the plane, going with, having get-togethers, house playing, playing some poker, doing some fun things, because you don't have that camaraderie, and I think that's why I always felt that teams that stuck together longer had the ability to win more, because guys are tighter. They trusted each other. They wanted to fight for each other. It's a little bit more like high school football.
Yeah.
The collegiality.
Yeah.
Every guy I talked to who played said that. It's always that. It's the room.
Yeah.
You miss the room. You miss your buddies. You miss the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you get out of it and you're like, okay.
What am I going to do now?
Got to go figure something else out. And that's the way it's got to work. But
they can always come help sell insurance with me.
You got some guys.
Oswald will take them all in.
You'll take them all in. Yeah. But no, it is, and it's funny. Like, I think from the outside looking in, whether you're media or your fans or whatever, you look at players almost like video game characters, and you just plug them and play them. But then you figure, they have lives, they have families, and you're going to uproot your life. Like, if somebody comes to a veteran who's been here a long time, and they come to Andrew and they say, hey, boy, we'd sure love to acquire Joel Bitonio. And who wouldn't want to acquire Joel Bitonio?
Yep.
But then you go have a conversation with Joel Bitonio, and you say, well, how about it? And you go, well, geez, my whole career's here, my family's here. You have all these things. Right. And it's a family life decision. It's not just as simple as, plug me into the LA Rams and I'm going to go try and win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. Like, there are other considerations, and there's a human element that I think gets lost in this week leading up to the deadline that's very, very real.
Oh, it is. I think there was rumors back then, and I never asked him about it, but Joe Thomas with Denver Broncos.
That was more than rumors.
He had the opportunity to do that. So
we put his head in a pretzel.
Tell him I said hello when he comes on next.
Yeah, we will.
But I think there's really two ways that I look at this. Is now that I'm a fan and I grew up a fan, you kind of lose that fan mentality when you're playing because it's your job, right? People pay a lot of money to go to these games. They pay a lot of money to park. They pay a lot of money to go buy beer and buy gear and cheer on your team and root for them. So there is a financial element to that you are helping the organization because you want them to win and you're spending money and all that. At the same time, these guys are people. Football. If when I played, football was not my first priority. It was my family. That's how I always thought about it. But you're a professional, and you are paid to perform. If you're not performing, you will get cut. That's the same thing in our business. That's the same thing in a lot of businesses. That you're here to perform. We like you, but if you're not performing, then we're going to have to move away from you. The problem I think fans sometimes do is they get so into it. They don't realize these guys are people too, and they do a lot of things for the community. They have good hearts. They do a lot of really good things, but they can't overcome the fact that we're not winning. And sometimes it kind of crosses the line a little bit on threats and things like that. You see it all the time. You see it with Ryan Day in Ohio State last year, and Ohio State and his family. So there's a human element to it. But at the end of the day, I think we have the most wonderful fans in the world. All they want to do is go watch a winner, root them on, and so they'll stick. The fans here will stick with us until we start turning around. I know it.
All right, let's hit the risk reward play of the game. Brought to you by Oswald, the official risk advisor of your Cleveland Browns. Early in the game, seems like it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's no doubt that our first series in a lot of these games is pretty profound. We're moving the ball, we're putting points on the board. I think Stefanski is one of the best first series play callers I've ever seen. We're going down. If you look at all these games and we're scoring, teams are adjusting. Right, we got a young offense, we got a little banged up line, we got a young quarterback. There's defense coordinators out there that are out there that get paid too. So I was really impressed with that first drive. I thought it was very calculated. I thought the plays were very masterful in how we were orchestrating. Each first and 10, second and 5, how we were doing that. And then all of a sudden things fall off, and that happens in the NFL. Unfortunately, defense coordinators get paid too.
Great to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
There he is. Dave Zastil joining us, the Oswald, always, current managing director at Oswald Companies. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
As always. The Joe Thomas half hour of the program is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Please bet responsibly on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, the Joe Thomas half hour of the program. It goes in the books 32-13. The Browns limp into the bye week off of a loss. Historical individual performance for Myles Garrett. And I wanted to start there with you, Hoff. When you were on teams that struggled and you were having individually excellent gold jacket seasons, how did you manage your personal performance juxtaposed to your team's struggles?
Well, it was really difficult for me, and I've talked about it at length a few times where in my 10th season, playing really good football, being on a team that ended up going 1-15, and you continue to like build up this narrative in your head that, okay, this is the week we're going to turn it around, we're going to put it together. And I think that everybody kind of has that breaking point. You know, some guys it takes longer to get to, but after we played the Patriots in my 10th season, I kind of had this moment where I just broke down in the car driving home with Annie, and I was crying. I couldn't help myself. And I had actually played what on paper was almost a perfect game. You know, I didn't have any minuses. Every step I took, every eye placement I had, every hand placement I had, everything I did was perfect, and we got blown out. And it's that feeling of loss of control where you feel like you've been kind of fooling yourself, talking yourself into being able to go out and win and keep the games competitive and that you have impact on the outcome. And it was that moment where I just kind of had that breakdown, realizing that like I had been kind of fooling myself and that I don't have the impact on the game that I want. And I had a chance to talk with some of the Browns psychologists and kind of help me get my mind put back together and be comfortable still performing at a high level, still trying to give everything I have to be the best player that I can be, but also realizing that, you know what, I don't control everything, and I have to be able to give some of that control up, understanding that maybe the outcome on the scoreboard won't reflect necessarily the performance that I put in. And that's a really difficult thing for an athlete, for a leader, for a football player to be able to comprehend and still be able to put out their best performance. And I think we saw a little bit of that from Myles in this game over the weekend, because he was slamming his helmet down. He was frustrated, feeling that, you know what, I had 5 sacks in this game. I had a forced fumble. I had 6 tackles. What else can I do? And we're still getting blown out. And for a defensive player, it's got to be even more difficult than for me when I was an offensive lineman, because I get that as a lineman, I can only block the guy that's across from me. But typically on defense, especially a pass rusher, you feel like you have more impact on the outcome of a game because I can get to the quarterback. I can knock the football loose. I can make big turnover-worthy plays. I can get the ball back to my offense. And to feel like you've done everything that you possibly can and the game still isn't even close, that's a really difficult thing mentally. And you could hear from the comments that Myles had after the game that he's struggling with those same things. And so, you know, you hope that he's got somebody in his life that he can talk to, because really how I was able to get over it was honestly just talking to people that are important in my life, talking to my wife, talking a little bit to some of my parents, some of my close friends that were on the team, talking to the psychologist with the Browns, and just that ability to talk and just kind of let some of that emotion out allowed me to steer myself back and focus on, all right, it's okay. I need to focus on me being the best version of myself and do everything I can to be a great servant to help my teammates, but understanding that, you know what, even if I do everything I possibly can, it might not lead to a victory. And being able to sort of separate that emotion from what I need to do to be the best version of myself, to fulfill my contract, to make my teammates in a best position possible that they can to succeed, give the fans everything that they deserve, but understanding that there is a dislocation between my performance and the performance of the team, and still finding a way to motivate yourself. It's really, really difficult. And you hope that Myles has those people in his life so he is able to continue to motivate himself so we can continue to get the performances that we got from him over the weekend. But I think the best thing that will help him is to have a little bit better offensive performance so that he can feel like I do have impact on the game. Because I've said this in the past, defensive players, they have to give a lot more than an offensive player does from an effort and an energy standpoint on each play, because you have to sprint to the ball. Not only do you have to beat your man up front, but then when the ball goes downfield, you've got to sprint to that ball with everything you have. You have to play with a different level of emotion, with your hair on fire, than an offensive player who plays much more under control. It's much more measured violence than it is from a defensive player that has to have that little bit of unglued, unhinged mentality in his brain to be able to go out and play. And so finding that why for him, I think, is going to be really important moving forward so we can continue to see that great effort.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing. Last year he led the league with 22 tackles for a loss, and he's got 15 already this season. I mean, that is wild to me, the way that he's performing. You mentioned kind of the offense. Were you ever on a team where there was all of a sudden some, resentment one side of the ball to the other? Because at some point, they gave up 9 points in the first half, and then they end up getting blown out. It's kind of same thing. Gave up 10 points in the first half in Baltimore. And, even in Detroit, you played well defensively early on in that game. How do you keep that from happening? Because I would imagine at some point it's like we're out here, to your point, killing ourselves. We're performing at a high level. We were, the number one defense in the league prior to last week, and we're still getting blown out.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I think I have been on those teams where the defense is coming off the field because they made a stop and they're giving you dirty looks, and when you're going on the field, you go out, you get a 3-and-out, and you're jogging off, and the punt team's coming on, and you see the defense standing over there. They're still exhausted from the last drive because they were just on the field 3 or 4 minutes ago, and you go 3-and-out, and they're worn out thinking, hey, man, we're giving everything we got. We're getting stops. We're getting you the ball back. Give us a little chance to regroup, catch our breath on the sideline. And it's difficult to balance that because really the only thing that can improve that feeling, that relationship between offense and defense is if the offense goes out and does their job better. And it can get ugly at times, but I think that's where leadership within the defensive room, starting from where the defensive coordinator gives that message of, guys, we need to worry about who we are. And I think one of the things that they can point to is those rankings. And, we all want to talk about it's a team game. You shouldn't worry about statistics and stuff. But when you feel like your offense isn't pulling their weight, what are the things that you can get your guys motivated with? It's, hey, we have pride because we're the number one defense or we're a top 5 defense. These are the goals that we have. And those are the things that you want to try to achieve and that you want to try to harp on. And it's really important, I think, for the leaders, the players, and defensive coaches to really make sure that they try to nip that in the bud as quickly as they can so that they don't allow it to become more of a thing where it's offense versus defense. It's defense worrying about what the offense is doing and getting pissed off at them because they're not holding up their end of the bargain, because that's obviously a dangerous dynamic. And on top of that, you do have this great defense that you don't want them focusing their energy on what the offense is doing and worrying about how poorly they're performing and having this grudge against those guys, because then it's going to take away from what they have to do and the focus that they need to go out and to continue to play great football there on defense.
It illustrates everything Hoff's just saying there, folks out there listening. It illustrates just how difficult it can be at times to be a professional athlete, right? Because what we want out of all of you is we want you to win. We want you to be great teammates. We want you to put team above all. But in the meantime, sometimes all you can hang on to amidst struggles is personal, individual success
and goals.
And that goes against everything that we're taught team sports are supposed to be about. But what do you expect them to do? You have to find your joy somewhere. You have to find your individual success somewhere amidst team failure. And it's a brutal ask.
You can only control what you can control.
That's it.
You can't play offense.
No.
Yeah, you got to find the why, right? And for a defensive player, it's easy to say the why is winning, but when it's pretty obvious that you don't have the makeup to be able to win, and let's say you're playing the game like last weekend, it's 2 or 3 score difference in the game already. If you're saying, yeah, I'm going out and playing hard because I want to win, it's like, okay, well, that's not really realistic. Anybody who's played sports knows that the comeback ain't happening right now. Mm-hmm. So what am I doing to go out on that field and telling myself that gives me the best chance to give everything I have on every play? And you know what? Sometimes that is individual accomplishments, individual statistics, team from a defensive team standpoint of rankings, right? Those are the things we have pride in. We can hold that up and say, this is what we're fighting for right now. And you hope that maybe next week the offense figures it out. It's a closer game. You feel like maybe that's our why right now. But if that's not that why in the moment is winning as a team, well, let's win as a defense. And that is looking at the statistics, looking at the individual statistics, looking at my own grade sheet, right? For me, that was a lot of things that I focused on towards the end of my career, going, 1-15 and then 0-16 my last 2 years. It's like me versus my grade sheet. That's my evaluation. That's what I go out there and I play for, is to try to be perfect every single week, because I know if I do that, I've given my teammates around me the best chance of success. And then it's up to them to hold up their end of the bargain. And if they don't, I can't get so worried about what they're doing, because it's only going to affect me negatively.
Yeah. And you go into this bye week now, and obviously we haven't just come out and said it, but we know the offense of the Cleveland Browns is struggling. What have you seen, and are you surprised that, we're, in many cases, I guess you'd say, we are staying the course in terms of what we're doing at the quarterback position and offensively?
Well, I think you heard some of the frustration from Wyatt after the game. You kind of heard him talking about not being able to throw the football down the field, not threatening a defense deep. And I would say, as they're self-scouting, it's not like this is some great revelation. Like, we haven't thrown the ball down the field. We haven't been able to hit our receivers. But you can sense some of that frustration bubbling up amongst the offense, amongst the receivers, amongst the linemen in the running game, because it's hard to have a consistently good running game if you aren't able to push the ball down the field. And now, certainly, it's not without blame on the offensive line for not doing a better job blocking in the run game or in some of the passing game situations, but just being able to have a few shots down the field to successfully get explosive plays, I think, is going to be so important to find a way to get those moving forward after this bye week. Because if we're never going to be able to push the ball down the field, we're never hitting our receivers down the field, then what you're going to have is receivers that don't want to give that full effort, right? They don't want to be running for the love of the game, go routes all game long if they're not even getting looked at. Just the same way that the offensive line is feeling like sometimes they're running their head into the wall when you have extra safeties and you've got different defenses that are putting more guys in the box to take away your run game, because they're not worried about the ball getting thrown over the top of their heads. And so I think from an offensive standpoint, figuring out who or what that looks like to be able to push the ball and to be able to hit explosive plays in the passing game is going to be so important moving forward coming out of this bye week.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to lean on Billy Musgrave. You got to lean on guys who have been there. I mean, because it's this quarterback room. I mean, it's got to be the youngest in the league. It has to be. I mean, Tennessee's is really young too, but Cam Ward was the number 1 pick in the draft. This isn't that situation. We got a 3rd-round pick, a 5th-round pick, and Bailey Zappi. That's the room. So there isn't a veteran that can come in and be like, all right, let's just stabilize this a little bit. And so the solution is going to have to come from within, and you're just going to have to rely on Kevin and Billy and hope that they can find some sort of answer to all of this. But all of it marries, doesn't it, Hoff? I mean, we don't protect particularly well. We don't separate very well at receiver. And so and then schematically, everything is really underneath. Z had a great line yesterday. He said, look, it feels like we play the whole game in the red zone. Yeah. That's basically what these games feel like.
Which is so hard. We always talk about how difficult it is. When you get into the red zone, you have to run the ball because the windows are so tight. And for a young quarterback to be able to find consistent windows underneath in the red zone, that's really hard, right? Because the coverage stickier, you don't have to defend 60, 70 yards, so the safeties are closer. There's just not as many places to throw the ball. And so if you don't ever push the ball in the open field, right, then you are going to get those red zone defenses, and the entire length of the field becomes really difficult. Every yard to get is so difficult. And I think typically when you have a wide open offense, it's not as hard to go from your own 30 to the 50 or the 40-yard line. It's just those red zone defenses that tighten up because you don't have as many windows. You got to rely on running the ball a little bit more. You got to rely on your quarterback extending plays to find time to get those windows open. And so I think that they have just got to find a way to be able to open up the field and push it down the field, because going the long, hard way in the NFL is already hard enough. And then when you have to do it 4, 5, 6 yards at a time, it's just an impossible task to think that we can consistently go down the field and get scores if we can't get any explosive plays over the top. And the explosive plays can't always come from the run game because, as we mentioned, defenses are getting even tighter and closer towards the line of scrimmage and adding players. So your opportunity to hit those explosive runs are just not going to be there quite as much.
And you can't just throw it for the sake of throwing it, because I felt like the one time he actually did throw the ball vertically, he threw it into double coverage, and it was intercepted. It's got to be, it's smart, aggressive, and I think that's what Kevin Stefanski said. I don't know. When you watch the tape, there are a couple plays every game where Isaiah Bond, typically he's the one, is behind the defense, and it's usually not thrown to him.
You hit one,
Yeah, it's tough. And then you wonder, is that quarterback issue? Is that a scheme issue? Is it a protection issue? Is it a receiver issue? Is it all of the above? And I think that's kind of the way that everything has been couched right now. But, as you kind of look at the final 9 games, one of the things that you wanted to at least have an idea coming out of the season is, do you have an in-house solution at quarterback? And it's either Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. Yep. Or potentially now down later in the season, Deshaun, I guess.
Yeah.
So
if he's healthy, play him.
That's where you're at. So it almost feels to me like you got 9 games now. You've had 4 with Gabriel already. What does that look like? Does he have 1 more game, 2 more games, 3 more games? At what point do you say, okay, let's see now, this is either working or not. Let's see Shedeur now, working or not. Let's see Deshaun again. I don't know. Because you thought if they were going to make a change, to me, I would have felt like this would have been a natural time with the bye week, give Shedeur 2 weeks to get ready. Now, we don't even know if he's healthy enough because he couldn't even be the backup quarterback against the Patriots with his back injury.
Right. No, I mean, it's
tough.
It has to get answered. And the thing that I think's tricky, Hoff, is like, Dylan's a 3rd-round pick, right? So if they thought he would be a franchise quarterback, you take him in the 1st round, he wouldn't be a 3rd-round pick. If you thought he could be that, like, that's such a huge disconnect. And exactly. I think sometimes there is this – the thing that's annoyed me a little bit with all of this is I think people are making it personal with Dylan as if he were Kenny Pickett, as if he were a former 1st-round pick who we brought in here to play at a certain level. He's a 3rd-round pick that you view as a long-term solution at backup and a guy who, maybe there's more to him, who knows, but we've seen him now for a few games. If they thought he could be the answer at quarterback long-term here, they would have taken him 5th overall or 2nd overall before we traded it. And Shedeur's a 5th-rounder.
Correct.
The whole league passed on him multiple times. So, like, you're not holding back Baker Mayfield here.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not what this was. You're not holding back the number 1 pick. And so that's the thing that's so tricky. And I think that's the other part, Hoff, and you've been in these rooms when you got these young quarterbacks. It's so hard on the vets. I mean, I think of Bitonio. We talked about Miles already. I mean, all of that just makes this so difficult because you can do all your things individually, but then you're also trying to, like, bring a young quarterback along, and it's a tough spot.
It's a really tough spot because you feel like you're leaving a lot of plays on the field. You're handicapping your offense a little bit with maybe not throwing the football down the field. And I think that's the real question mark is, at what point do they say, hey, we've seen enough with Dylan Gabriel. We feel like we know where he is right now. And then now we got to answer the question for next season because we do have those 2 first-round draft choices, and we need to be able to see Shedeur at some point to get an evaluation on where he is. And I know that they want to make sure that he understands the offense well enough to be able to protect himself so he can get the ball out on time and that he's not running around and creating huge negative plays for his team, but also taking big hits on himself, which you don't want to see a player like that get hurt. And so you hope that at some point they feel comfortable enough and he's healthy enough and he understands the offense enough where he can start delivering the football on time and he can operate the offense efficiently so that we're able to get the other guys the ball as well to see what some of those other younger players, especially at receiver and, with Harold Fannin, what they can continue to do to develop. But I think you're right. Like at some point, there's enough frustration with the direction that the offense is headed within the team, right? The guys on defense that are playing great, the guys on offense that maybe are playing great football or good football, and they're holding up their end of the bargain where you say, hey, we need to make a change and figure out, what else we have here. And that if maybe a change does spark something on that offense to create something that a defense is frightened about and that can potentially open up some of the other guys. Because I look at a guy like Quinshawn, and who's done an amazing job. And I think he's been everything and more that you wanted when you drafted him. But it becomes more difficult for him each week that he's banging his head against a 7 and 8 man front because we aren't able to open it up enough. And so just having the threat of having a quarterback that is willing to throw the football down the field and hit some of our speedy receivers will really help him. And so I think the frustration from all those positions is kind of boiling up right now to the point where the question's going to get answered or get asked every single week about, hey, at what point do you put Shedeur in there and find out what he has and see if he can answer some of these questions and create an offense that's at least dangerous and unpredictable enough for a defense to give all those other guys that are out there an opportunity for success.
All right, trade deadline's coming up a week from today. Is that something that's talked about in the locker room when you're in a situation like we are right now? And you mentioned that there's some frustration. We know your story that you had an opportunity to go to Denver potentially. Is this something that's talked about? Could guys go and say, hey, give me a chance to compete? I don't have that many years left in the tank. How does that actually play out?
I don't think that specifically is talked about all that much in the locker room. I think the conversations in the locker room before a trade deadline are much more vibrant when it's, hey, we're right on the cusp of being a playoff team. There's an obvious need at a position. There's a guy out there that might fill that need. Hey, that's the conversation. Hey, are we going to bring this guy in? Who knows him? Let's talk to him. Let's see if we, can maybe persuade the teams and the player to make some type of a move at the trade deadline because we feel like we're one player away from being able to make a run and getting into the playoffs. I think the situation they're in right now where it's not like we're one player away on offense, and typically going into the trade deadline, there's not that many players that are available that potentially you could make a move for. And where the Browns sit in this situation of rebuilding and building for the future, it's not like they would give up a lot of draft capital for any certain player because it's not like that guy would move the dial enough right now to give up what you would need to be able to get that player in here. But much more of a conversation about like, hey, are the Browns going to deal some of the guys that we have right now that have draft capital and equity that aren't going to be part of the long-term future of this team? But I think those are more individual conversations that maybe a player would have with his agent that potentially would have with the team than something that would get talked about in the locker room.
Yeah, it's just got to loom. And we heard that report from Schefter a couple of weeks ago. He thinks it's going to be the busiest trade deadline, maybe ever in the NFL, and some big names. So you just never know. You never know, and I'm sure people will be calling us. I mean, we think of Joel, obviously, and you think at his stage in his career, and Hoff, you were in that circumstance. You know exactly, if that happens next week, you know exactly what that's like when you're being, and I'm guessing the same courtesy would be extended to him as was extended to you. Do you want this? What do you think? And that's a tough decision, I would imagine, to be in that spot and have that thrust upon you.
Absolutely, especially for a guy like Joel. I was in his shoes, not at the end of my career, but more towards the middle of my career. And he's been here in Cleveland his entire life. He never expected to go anywhere else. He re-signed here. He decided to come back for at least one more season, and he wanted to stay in Cleveland. And, how much does he value finishing his career in the place that he started? I don't know. I haven't had those conversations with him because the conversations I always had with him were never about like, hey, should I go somewhere else? It was more, hey, do I want to come back and play another season? I'm feeling like I'm getting older. My body's hurting a little bit more. Do I want to continue to do this thing that is so amazing and it's every kid's dream, but at some point it ends. But it is a tough conversation to have because obviously there's more people that have a stake in that say than just you and your agent and the team. It's like, you have a family, you've got a wife and kids, and they're deeply involved in the community. So the decision has a lot of layers, and you get thrust into this situation right before the trade deadline with a week or a few days to go, where it's like we got to be able to make a decision on this. So you hope that you've at least had a chance to talk to the important people in your life going into it, so you have a pretty good idea of like, is this something we feel like we want to go maybe finish somewhere else where they have a chance to make the playoffs and make a run and get a championship and get a ring? Or is it something where you'd rather continue to be here and help try to develop the guys around you and then find a different reason to play the game? Like for me, it was, towards the end of my career, I didn't want to be traded because I felt like we had a lot of good young players. I got to play with Miles at the end of my career, and I felt like, hey, I can be impactful from a leadership standpoint, from a mentor standpoint to a lot of these young guys to help maybe build a foundation for a great future, right? That was sort of my line of thinking in my last couple seasons. And you wonder where Joel's head is on that, because I haven't had those conversations with him.
It's going to be wild. And, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of layers. A lot of people would be impacted, even if it is just a short-term thing, to go someplace for the rest of this year. There's a lot there. It's wild, and it stinks in large part. The AFC North is down right now, decidedly down, that we're even having these conversations, because unfortunately we sit at 2-6 and we've had opportunities. I mean, it comes out now that Carson Wentz beat us with one arm.
That's right. That's right.
Literally, like that is not exaggeration at all. And you say to yourself, man, if we could have just gotten that one, man, if we just made the kicks against Cincy, if we were 4-4 right now, 4-4, you're a half game out of first in the AFC North. And it's unfortunate that this is the situation that we're in, where you even have to even think about things like that. It's not a question, really. It's more just to say.
No, but I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about. Baltimore's sitting there at 2-5 in the North.
We feel like they're going to win it,
and it feels like they're going to win it, Hoff. If you look at their schedule,
it's a really crazy year in the North, and I'm trying to reflect back. I mean, since I got in the league in 2007 till now, I can't remember a year where the AFC North just felt like it was so down. And obviously, a lot of it's been the injury to Joe Burrow, the injury to Lamar Jackson. The ineffectiveness of the Steelers defense. It's things that, we just really aren't used to seeing in this division that's always so tough, the black and blue division of the AFC. And to feel like it was so wide open and really anybody's for the taking, it's frustrating. I mean, that's all you could say, right? Because if you told me at the beginning of the season, going through training camp, when we had Flacco at quarterback, that like, hey, if we were 500, we'd have a chance to win the division, I'd say, damn, I like that. I like our chances. I feel like pretty good with this great defense and with Flacco, veteran quarterback. Like we're going to be able to squeak out some games. We can be right there at 500. So to sit where we are right now, it's just a bad feeling. It's frustrating. And then on top of that, you pile the fact that the AFC North is anybody's for the taking really right now. And there's no clear favorite other than, like you said, the Ravens, who are not
2-5,
looking very good themselves, but they know Lamar's coming back here pretty soon, and they've got an easy schedule the rest of the way. You're going, man, what the heck? How did we get into the situation that we're in right now?
Let's do the Trench Report. It's brought to you by Big Fig, the mattress made for more, crafted in Cleveland, just like our Browns. We talked a lot about Miles off the top. One other thing, and you mentioned this on Monday's show, so I'm going to give you full credit on this, but he set the Browns single-game record, 5 sacks and a forced fumble, 6 tackles, 10 sacks on the season. He joins Reggie White and John Randall as the only players with 10 sacks in 8 straight seasons. He is also the most sacks prior to his 30th birthday. He's got 112.5. Yep. Reggie White at 108, Jared Allen at 105, TJ Watt at 101. So that's it. That's the list. You said something yesterday, though, that I want to get Hoff's take on, because I think this makes this statistic even more astonishing. How many snaps has Myles Garrett taken at defensive end where his team has a 2-score lead? Juxtapose that to Reggie White in Philly and then in Green Bay. Think about Jared Allen in Minnesota, who was on a lot of really, really, really good teams there. And think about TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, where all they do is have winning records every year.
Every year.
It's amazing. I mean, it's truly amazing. I think back to my own career and how much more difficult it was when you're playing from behind and you're in the 2-minute drill, and those guys on defense, they're pinning their ears back. They know one thing, like, hey, this is my chance to get sacks, to get the stats that I need, to get the contract that I want. And it is so tough because they're not playing the run. They don't care. They know where the quarterback's going to be. It's not like you're running boots and outside zone play action stuff. Like, they're just rushing the passer in one-on-one pass rush, which that is a drill that is set up for the defense to win. And that's when you look at, I would love for somebody in the analytics world to go over all the stats, all the sacks in the last 20, 30 years and figure out how many of those sacks came when the defense had the lead and it was the second half of the game and they were just able to pin their ears back and the offense knew they had to hold on to the football and they were willing to take a sack to risk being able to throw the football down the field to get a score. And the fact that Myles is getting the majority of these sacks in games that we're losing and the offense doesn't have to hold on to the football is just mind-boggling because it's so hard. You rarely ever see sacks when your team is in the lead because you just don't want to take sacks in those situations. You don't want the quarterback to get hit. You don't want the ball to go backwards. So typically you're running the football, you're throwing quick game, you're running play action stuff, and the quarterback's saying, hey, I'm just getting the ball out of my hand because we don't need to hold on to it and we don't need to score. It's just almost impossible for me to comprehend Myles getting the level of sacks that he's getting when his team is not winning.
Well, I know one of the things that the Pittsburgh people, when it was always Watt and Garrett, would be like, oh, TJ Watt's a closer and how his third and fourth quarter sack numbers were so great and Myles's weren't that great. It totally goes to what you're talking about in game script. But, you almost wonder, Myles probably has the most sacks in the first half of anybody like ever in terms of as a percentage of
That's
his
a
sacks.
great
And
point.
if you think if he was on a good team, like maybe you certainly should be able to extrapolate what he did in a neutral game script to the second half if he was on a good team. And you'd say, man, this guy could have been 20 sacks a year because he's going to be the only person ever to have 6 seasons in a row with 14 or more sacks, and doing that where he's had 2 winning seasons and then not just losing seasons, but significantly losing seasons.
Yeah.
That's why I said he's the most impactful defensive player, certainly that I've ever seen. And I know there's plenty of great arguments. I was a huge Reggie White fan growing up. Lawrence Taylor, obviously the guys from the 80s say that, he was unstoppable. He was a different player. But these guys are playing on Super Bowl teams, and they're getting one-on-one matchups, which if you're one of the great defensive ends of all time and you get a one-on-one matchup, you're going to win more of them than you lose. And for Miles to get sacks in the first half where he's getting double teamed, he's getting chips. It's so hard to win against a double team when you're the pass rusher. And it's so easy to win when it's one-on-one. And for him to win against double teams and chips, it's really mind-boggling because it just shows the level of talent and the level of invincibility that he has as a pass rusher and his desire to get to the quarterback.
All right, Hoff, we'll get you out of here on this one. Halloween Friday. Favorite costume as a kid, favorite candy. Or it could be something else that maybe there was a Wisconsin thing. I mean, there was a lady who made homemade chocolate glazed donuts that we were incredible around. We'd wait around the block to get them when we were little kids.
And
There's one lady.
You would never
accept
that
it.
Somebody made in their home.
No, I know. But I mean, we did that.
I know. It was a simpler time. It was a beautiful time.
What do you got, Hoff? Best costume, best snack.
Yeah, best costume. I went, as a Green Bay Packer player one year as a kid, which was always really fun. One year I wore a ghillie suit and went as like a sniper in the Army. So I like that one. That was pretty fun. I think this year we're doing Mario Kart. So I'm going to be Bowser.
Well, Bowser, there you go. Yeah,
appropriate. Bowser with the kids, which will be fun. And I think my favorite Halloween candy was always Whoppers, which was a very controversial choice because I always love that malted milk ball and that crunch in the inside. And some people hate Whoppers, which I'm okay with that. Give me your Whoppers. I'm cool. I'll give you the M&Ms and all those other things. But I was talking with Annie. I think what we're going to do this year is try to give a little treat for the parents as well. So we'll give the kids candy, and then we're going to have some Hall of Fame beef sticks to be able to get out to the adults, Because
I knew you were going to say that.
They like to come around with a
there.
cooler of beer and, maybe a flask under their costume.
God. Which ones are you going to give them? Apple cheddar?
I mean, the beef sticks are
unreal. You got to give them the apple cheddar. Give the people what they want, Z.
You got to give them the apple cheddar.
So we're gonna have
that's like dessert.
A long line of return customers from the parents' side of the Halloween.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know if we got to that house.
Yeah, I don't think we
Let's
got
run it back.
Yet,
Mine was I had a real jumpsuit. I was Maverick.
Yeah,
Top Gun. Nice. That was my babies, and my favorite treat now is what he just said would be the apple cheddar meat sticks. But as a kid, I was
meat sticks. Yeah,
Snickers, Butterfinger, and Reese's Pieces.
I like the
Reese's Pieces were unbelievable.
Yeah, those are great. All right, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks for your perspective and sharing, buddy. Always a good time talking to you. There it goes, the Joe Thomas half hour of the program, and there goes Cleveland Browns Daily. We appreciate you listening on 850 ESPN Cleveland.